Okay, welcome back you beautiful people. Now today is the final upgrade install for my Fender Player Stratocaster to make this play as good as an American Strat. Now I've already put the lock and tuners in, sorted out the frets, put custom shop pickups in, and today is the final piece of the puzzle. Let's get into it. Okay, so today I'm going to be changing the tremolo assembly on my Fender Player Stratocaster for the Ultra Stratocaster version. Okay, I got this for less than £100, less than $100, so it's a good deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this on, replace this 2-screw bridge with the Fender Ultra 2-screw bridge. Okay, and this will hopefully give it a lot more sustain, a bit more control, and also I just prefer the feel of the saddles, of these little saddles. They just cut into your palm when you're doing palm mutes and so on. So hopefully with the smooth one of the Fender Ultra, it'll feel a little bit better. Now what I've done is I've taken off the strings just to save a bit of time in the video, and I've also removed the back plate, so we're all ready to go and get access to all of this. So the first thing we're going to do is actually, I should have left it over there, we're going to actually remove the springs. Now there's 3 springs on this, so once you take off these 3 springs there's no tension on the block anymore, so then it's free to move around. So let's do that now. Okay, so that's the 3 springs removed. Now what I'm going to do is turn it over, and this bridge will just come out, look, straight out, one block. It's that easy to remove these bridges. Okay, so you just literally just undo take the springs off, and there's no tension holding that in, and it just slides straight off the 2 bolts. Okay, so now we're ready to replace this one with this one. Let's get this open. Okay, just a quick one. If you're finding this video really helpful or interesting, please click like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Let's get back to it. Okay, so let's see what we've got in this box. So it's the Fender genuine parts I ordered. Okay, so just some packaging, and there we have the beauty of the new part. Okay, so as you can see, they're a lot flatter on these bridges. I'll quickly show you the saddles. They're so much flatter. There's no sharp edges that don't cut into you at all. Obviously, we're going to have to adjust all these heights for the guitar once it's on the guitar and got the strings on. Now, one thing I really love about these tremolo arms, if I can get it out, that's a bit of a fight, is they actually push in. They actually just push straight in and they pop in and then secure to this little cutout. Now that means that you can position it with the tensioner, so you set the tension before you install it, and then once you put it in, that will just hold itself in position wherever you like to have that. And you can still turn it, but you can just move it out of the way, it'll stay in position, put it back and it'll stay in position, rather than the old screw type where they'll just be all over the place, and that used to really drive me nuts. So there we have the 2-screw bridge of the Ultra. Okay, so under here we've got the springs, of which there's 5, and the screws, and they've got the posts. And they've got a string tree in there as well. God, they're really giving you everything in here. Okay, so just popped the tremolo arm in here, and it's actually quite stable, so the tension seems about right to me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to install it as is. I think that's fine for now. I can always take it out in the future and just adjust one of these screws to give it the tension a little bit more if I choose to, but it feels quite good to be fair. So let's get it in the guitar. Here we go. Okay, so here I have my Stratocaster Ultra in Arctic White Pearl. This paint, by the way, is amazing. It's stunning. It's so 3D. It's very hard to show in the camera. But anyway, as you can see, I've got the Ultra bridge. Goes without saying because it comes with it. But what I'm just going to do is try and show you that under the scratch plate, if I can get it to work in the camera, there's actually only 3, 1, 2, 3 springs in there. It's a bit hard to get the angle. You might be able to see it. There's 3 springs in there. Even though this is Apply 5 with the new one, there's only 3 installed. So I'm only going to put the 3 in, just like the 3 that were actually installed in the first place. So they must just give you a couple of spares. So that's my Ultra. So that's just an example of what the Stratocaster Ultra bridge is like when it's fitted. Okay, so as you can see, the Fender Stratocaster Ultra bridge comes with a bit of float from factory. So I'm going to be setting up exactly the same height and everything on my Fender Player. So let's get it on the Fender Player. Okay, so first of all, just need to slot it in to the new guitar, so just drop it in there. And there we go, so it's now in place. It's held in by those 2 pins, but obviously when I turn it over, because there's all this slack on it, it's going to try and drop out. So I'm going to hold it in position as I turn it over, and hopefully, as you can see, it's still in place. Now I'm going to just quickly slot in one of these springs straight away. Go for the middle one, get it in the hole there. There we go, and then just wrap it over There we go, so straight over the middle claw. Okay, so then I'm going to do the same with the next one, but go to the extreme edge. So I'm going to quickly whack that in there, put them in the middle ones, like I believe they were originally. Yeah, that looks more right. That was how it was, definitely. Okay, so the springs are installed now, so it's holding that bridge in place nicely on those 2 pins. So now we can get the strings installed, and then we'll be ready to start setting up this bridge for the strings for this particular guitar. So we'll start with the action height, and what we'll be doing is using a string gauge measuring tool to get the action set up once the strings are up to pitch. And then once they're up to pitch and then we set the height of the action, what we'll then do is set the intonation, moving these saddles fore and aft to give it the exact intonation so that the strings are perfect. Okay, and then we'll be making sure that we've got the right amount of float on there as well with the tension of the strings. Okay, so let's put some strings on, back in a mo. Okay, so I've got the strings up to nearly up to tension, but what keeps happening is the bridge keeps coming up too high. So what I'm going to have to do is tighten the springs by doing this clamp up a little bit more, pulling it into the body. So just by adjusting those 2 screws and screwing them in, it'll pull the bridge back, and it'll hold it a little bit flatter and lower. It's just floating way too much. So I'm just going to quickly do that. So to do that, you need to loosen the tension of the strings a little bit to allow you to have that give in the bridge to then pull it back a bit. So let's do that now. Okay, so I've turned 1 full turn on each of these 2 screws for the claw, and that's given a bit more tension to these springs. Now what that's done in turn, it's just maintained a little bit more pull on these strings, so it's not lifting so high at the back edge of the bridge. You can probably see now there's not so much gap there as there was. It's actually slightly lower than my Ultra is now, but I don't want too much float on this because the Ultra's the more of the, I'll use the wiggle stick more on the Ultra than I will on this one. So yeah, it's just there. So what I need to do is adjust the action, because as you can hear, it's catching the frets. This hasn't been adjusted at all for height, so I'm going to raise those now in conjunction with using the action measuring tool, the measuring device, and get those at the right heights, and then we'll be good, ready for the intonation adjustment, and then we'll be good to go. Let's crack on. Okay, so all we need to do is, using this Allen key here, is just turn the little grub screws that are inside those saddles clockwise to raise the end of the saddle, so it raises the action of the string. Okay, so you do that per string, and now it's not buzzing, but obviously we need to measure the height above the relevant frets at the right position according to Fender's specs on their website, which they have all the details on every guitar that they make, so you can get the exact height. Okay, so I'm now going to do this off camera. I'm actually just going to set the height of the saddles. Okay, so as you can see, got the strings on, got the saddle heights adjusted using the string gauge tool. So I was measuring at the 17th fret, like Fender says on their website, and you measure the action on the 17th fret, make sure it's 1.6 mil below the string to the top of the fret on the 17th fret, using the string measuring tool. Okay, so I adjusted each of these strings one at a time, each one of these saddles one at a time, till they're all at the set height, and I've adjusted the tension of the springs that little bit more, okay, just to give me a little bit lower. I didn't want it quite so floating as high as my Ultra, because I won't use it so much on this one as what I do on the Ultra. So the last job now is to do the intonation by moving the saddles forward and back, and then that will just keep it in tune. The higher up the fretboard you go, the strings won't go out. Laws of physics and all that, I don't understand it all, but I just know that you've got to set the intonation by moving the saddles forward and back, so that when you play the 12th fret, it's exactly in pitch, the same pitch as the open string, and you just adjust it forward and back until that's set. So I'm going to do that now. There's plenty of videos on the net about setting intonation. So like I say, you just set the strings so they're all perfectly in tune, play the 12th fret, then measure that tune of that 12th fret. If it's out, if it's sharp or flat, you adjust the saddle forward and back till it gets bang on that 12th fret, and then check it's still in. Is it on the open string as well? Make sure it's still in tune on the 0. Make sure it's in tune on the 12th, and when it is, then you know the intonation for that string is set. Then you move on to the next string, and so on. Get all 6 done, and then be good to go. So let's crack on with that. I'll do that off camera, and I'll come back to you in a moment. Okay, you beautiful people, so I've just finished setting up the intonation and adjusting these saddles fore and aft, and you can see the staggered pattern now. Okay, so all you do is you tune the string, press down on the 12th fret, make sure it's perfectly in tune. If it isn't, you move it forward and back until it's the right position to then give it some equal tuning in the 0th fret and the 12th fret position on each string. And this is a pretty typical sort of rough look to the saddles positions. They sort of start to angle out on the A and D, then they go back in on the G, and then start to angle out again, come forward again on the B and the E. So as you can see, it's now set up. I've done the action. I've done the spring adjustment to keep the right float on the bridge there, and the intonation is done. So it's all finished, all good to go. Okay, so that's the Fender Player Stratocaster, complete with full upgrades all the way through. So we've got the lock and tuners, we've got the custom shop pickups, we've got the custom shop wiring, we've got the Ultra bridge, the Stratocaster Ultra bridge, we've got the strap locks, we've got the Ultra string tree, and I sorted out the frets, and you saw that one in the other week. Okay, so that's it for this. I've actually finished getting this to where I want it to be now, and this is a beast, so it's ready to use. Now I'm going to be using this in one of my performance videos. I've got 2 performance videos coming out in the next 2 weeks. This is in one of them, okay, and it's by a very, very famous band, a guitar band we all know and love, with quite an iconic looking guitar. Hint, hint, for that video, okay? So, and then the next one is by a band you would never see coming. You would not expect me to be playing rocky, heavy rock song by this band, but they've really matured this year and brought out a new album in May, and it's just superb. It's so 80s classic rock style. It's amazing. I hope you enjoy that one. That's coming in the next few days. Okay, now also I've got 2 more videos. One is my new competition announcement. Okay, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. And then finally, my longest term project I've ever done for YouTube, 8 months in the making this video. Okay, that's going to be in 3 parts, and it involves a PRS and the word nebula. Now hopefully you know what I'm talking about there, but with a twist. Okay, now no one else has done this on YouTube, and I think still I can't find anyone else that's done this sort of thing with this particular guitar. But you'll see that in the next few days, okay? So make sure you like and subscribe. So click the subscribe button. It really helps out the channel, helps share this video and all my other videos to plenty of other people around the world, okay? So make sure you subscribe so you get notifications of my upcoming videos, and I hope you enjoy them, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.